In reverse glass painting, paint is applied to the backside of a glass surface and viewed from the smooth, unpainted front side. Starting with a black outline of the image, the artist then builds in sections and layers, working from the foreground to the background. Glass painting reached its height of popularity during the Renaissance period, at a time when glass was expensive to produce and acquire. The high cost of materials, along with the degree of skill needed by the artisan, made it favored by noble families. As glass became more readily available, glass painting dropped in popularity and fell into obscurity. This project aims to explore this bygone art form using modern materials. Begin with a sketch. The image should be simple enough that color can be worked in sections and layers, much like a reductive print. For this project, we are using a non-glare styrene, which is much more durable and safer than glass. Styrene comes with a protective film applied to both sides. If there is printing on one of the protective films, it's best to remove that side. Both sides of the styrene sheet are the same, but this will allow you to leave the film on the back side to avoid scratching it or scuffing it while working. Place the styrene on top of a sketch and set aside to prepare your paint. I am using Blick Premium Grade Tempera Paint. It is a highly pigmented, light-fast, non-toxic, lead-free, and thick-bodied paint for one-stroke coverage. It will also reactivate after drying if wetted when used on such a slick surface like styrene. Each color will need to be prepared with a dollop of glue to avoid lifting color as layers are added. Because each color is applied in a separate layer, it's best to only mix colors as needed, or pre-mix a variety of colors in an airtight lidded container. Be sure to thoroughly mix the glue and the paint. Now, I'm using black to outline my image, but really any defining color could be used. You can use a small round brush to outline the image, or alternatively, a paint pen could be used to more quickly create precise lines. Allow this to dry fully before applying the first section of color. And you may have noticed I'm using a piece of scrap paper under my hand to keep from touching the styrene while painting. Oils from your hands can affect how the paint adheres. If an area has been affected, the paint may bead, and if this occurs, gently rub the area with a cotton ball or craft swab to remove oils, then swab with a little bit of alcohol and allow it to dry. Begin filling in color, starting with the foreground and move to the background. I'm going to start with the main shape of the cat because his fur visually will be in front of the grass and sidewalk behind him. While this section dries, I'm going to move on to the brick wall behind. And if you overpaint or go outside of the lines, the paint can be removed before it dries. Now that the black area has dried, I can go directly over it and not worry about staying in the lines, at least in that section. Don't forget, areas that are white will need to be painted with white. If left unpainted, you'll see through to the back side in the end. Allow the paint to dry between each color layer. Dry times will vary depending on temperature and humidity, but thin layers should dry within about 10 minutes. Depending on the design, there may be little overlapping needed, like the example I've made here. Others will require some planning and overlapping to achieve greater depth in the image. When all of the areas are painted, remove the sketch and allow the piece to dry fully. To finish, first remove the protective film from the now front side of the image. Place a piece of mirror paper down with the mirrored side facing outwards towards the front of the image. Use a piece of clear tape to create a hinge mount. Place the tape like so on the front of the image and wrap around to the back side. Trim excess if there is any. Ready to get painting? Visit dickblick.com for a full instructional PDF with step-by-step instructions and material list.